Ready to dive into something interesting.
Always. What are we looking at today?
Well, today we're tackling subsidized dual apprenticeship programs and specifically how effective they are.
Okay.
We're looking at one in particular, actually, in Côte d'Ivoire.
Interesting.
It's a West African nation where, traditional apprenticeships, those informal ones, are pretty common.
Right.
But formal apprenticeships, not so much.
Makes sense.
And, they've got a big challenge on their hands.
Yeah.
It's a huge youth population. And, of course, limited access to those, quality job opportunities.
Absolutely a common problem.
So that's where this program we're looking at comes in. It's called PJDEC.
PJDEC.
We've got some research on it. And we were really curious that, did it actually help?
Yeah.
Did it help more young people get into apprenticeships, or did it just kind of like shuffle things around?
Right. Were they just moving from one type of apprenticeship to another, or did it actually increase the overall number?
Exactly. So PJDEC, it was a government initiative.
It was launched in 2011.
Okay.
And the goal was to provide these subsidized dual apprenticeships specifically to low-skilled youth.
Dual apprenticeship.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. What's the dual part?
So that's a great question, and it's really at the heart of what makes this program unique.
Okay.
Essentially, apprentices would split their time between two key areas.
Okay.
On-the-job training with, seasoned craftspeople.
Right.
And then also theoretical training at a vocational center.
So they're getting like the hands-on experience, but then also that like classroom education component.
Precisely. It was designed to be this really well-rounded experience.
That makes a lot of sense.
And to sweeten the deal even further, participants were given a monthly stipend.
Oh, wow.
They got insurance coverage, and even all their work equipment was provided. They really wanted to address those financial barriers that we know prevent a lot of people from taking on apprenticeships.
For sure, for sure. So that sounds like a really fantastic program in theory, but did it actually work?
Right.
Did it actually lead to an increase in the number of apprenticeships?
Yeah, so to figure that out, the researchers really went all out. They used something called a randomized controlled trial.
Okay.
Which, for those who might not be familiar with research lingo, it's really considered like the gold standard for figuring out if something truly makes a difference.
Right.
If an intervention actually works.
So for those of us who maybe need a little refresher on our Research Methods 101, can you break that down a bit?
Sure. So they basically took over 1,800 young people.
Okay.
And they randomly assigned them to either participate in PJDEC or not.
Okay.
And that or not group, that's our control group.
Right.
They're crucial because they give us something to compare to.
Right. So you can isolate the effect of just this program.
Exactly. So by comparing these two groups, they could figure out what difference the program itself made.
Like a real life experiment.
Basically. And they didn't just check in on them after a few weeks.
Okay.
They followed these young people for 4 years.
Wow.
Tracking all sorts of things. Their employment, how much they were earning, even down to the nitty-gritty of what kinds of tasks they were doing at their jobs.
Okay, so they really went deep on this research.
They wanted to get the full picture, and what they found was pretty surprising.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. What'd they find?
The program actually increased participation in both types of apprenticeships.
Really?
Both the traditional ones and the formal ones.
So it didn't just like cannibalize the existing traditional apprenticeships.
Right, it's not like it just pulled people away from those.
Yeah.
It seems like it actually expanded the pie overall.
Interesting. So more apprenticeships all around.
That's what the data suggests, yeah.
Okay.
But of course, it's not quite as simple as that.
Right.
We got to dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Was it just attracting those who were already planning on doing an apprenticeship anyway?
Right.
Maybe they were going to do a traditional one and then they heard about this great program with all the benefits.
Right.
That's what we call windfall.
Okay.
Like finding a $20 bill on the street.
Right. You were going to get a coffee anyway, but now you got a free $20.
Exactly. Or did it actually displace those who would have gotten those traditional spots if this program hadn't existed?
Right. So that's like crowding out then.
Exactly. That's the other side of the coin, crowding out.
Yeah.
Like if a bunch of people suddenly show up to a free concert and take all the spots.
And then there's no room for the people who were planning to pay to go.
Exactly. So did PJDEC lead to more windfall or crowding out?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Right. Well, the researchers found that there was some of both.
Okay.
But the effects were actually way smaller than you might think.
Okay, so not as much windfall and crowding out as you might expect.
Not at all.
Yeah.
For every young person that PJDEC placed in a formal apprenticeship,
Okay.
only an estimated 0.23 traditional apprentices lost their spot.
Wow.
Yeah. So essentially for every 4 new formal apprentices. Only one traditional apprentice missed out.
Interesting. So overall, still a net positive?
It really seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just a zero-sum game. This program genuinely created more opportunities for these young people.
That's fantastic.
It is.
So we've seen the program did a great job of, getting more young people into those apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Both the traditional ones and the formal ones.
Right.
But you were particularly interested in the long-term impact.
Yeah.
Specifically on earnings, right?
Absolutely.
Did these formal apprenticeships actually lead to better pay down the road?
So this is where things get a little bit more, nuanced.
Okay.
In the short term, we're actually not seeing a big impact on earnings.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising. Why not? You'd think with those new skills.
You think so, right. But remember, these apprenticeships, they're not just a quad workshop.
Right.
They usually last a full 24 months.
Okay, yeah, that's a solid chunk of time.
It is. And during that time, participants are gaining those valuable skills. Right. That hands-on experience, the theoretical knowledge.
Right.
But they're also, they're kind of pressing pause on the chance to be out there earning potentially higher wages in other jobs.
So they're making an investment in their future.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing the long game here, hoping for a bigger payoff once they've completed the program.
Okay, so short term, maybe a little dip, but long term, hopefully a nice boost.
Precisely. And that's where this whole dual aspect that we talked about,
right,
that really comes into play
okay,
in the medium term. And by that we mean 4 years after the program started.
Okay.
Those who had gone through PJDEC, who had completed that program, they actually ended up earning more.
Okay.
About 15% more than the control group, those who hadn't had that dual apprenticeship experience.
Wow, 15%, that's significant.
It's not nothing, right? It really highlights how those initial investments, that time spent building skills, it can really pay off.
For sure, for sure. And this program wasn't just about boosting income rate. We talked about skill development, too.
Absolutely.
It was about more than just earning a bit more.
Right from the get-go, the goal was to equip these young people with skills that would be valuable throughout their entire careers.
Right.
No matter what specific job they ended up in.
So it's about adaptability, transferable skills.
Exactly. And the study found that those who went through the program, especially those who, saw it through to the end,
okay,
got certified, they actually ended up in jobs that required more, complex skills, more analytical skills.
So not just more jobs, but better jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, they were moving up that skills ladder, taking on roles that were more challenging, potentially more rewarding in the long run.
Right. It's about investing in a skilled and adaptable workforce.
Exactly. This wasn't just about filling a temporary gap in the job market. It was about something bigger, something more sustainable.
Right. Investing in human capital.
Exactly. But of course, programs like this, they don't run on good intentions alone.
Right.
You have to talk about costs.
Yeah. Was it worth it? Was this a worthwhile investment from, a purely financial standpoint?
That is the $1,000,000 question.
Yeah.
Right. And thankfully, the researchers, they dug into that too.
Okay, good.
So the PJEC program, it cost about US $2,045 for that full 24-month apprenticeship.
Okay.
And most of that, not surprisingly, went towards the stipend for the participants.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So not an insignificant amount of money.
Right.
But also not, when you think about it, it's a 2-year program.
Yeah.
Providing both on-the-job and theoretical training.
Right. It's a pretty comprehensive package.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. When you actually weigh those upfront costs against the potential long-term benefits, those higher earnings we talked about,
right,
the program starts to look really promising. If those higher earnings persist, which there's good reason to believe they might,
right,
the program becomes cost-effective within a pretty reasonable time frame.
That's amazing. It's like investing in, a good stock or something.
Exactly. There's a real return on that investment, both for the individual and for the economy as a whole.
So it sounds like investing in these well-designed apprenticeship programs could actually have these significant returns for everybody.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Makes a strong case for, maybe expanding programs like this, reaching even more young people.
Absolutely. So we've seen that this PJDEC program, really successful, getting more young people into those apprenticeships, leading to those higher earnings down the road, enhancing skills,
right,
all while being, potentially cost effective.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
It's a pretty amazing story. But like any good story, there's a twist.
Oh, okay. I like a good twist. What's the twist?
Remember how we talked about those employers generally perceiving those formally trained apprentices as having those, stronger technical skills.
Right, because of that dual training component.
Exactly. They had that hands-on and the theoretical knowledge.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. Those same employers, they often rated those formally trained apprentices as having, get this, lower behavioral skills.
Really?
Yeah.
Lower behavioral skills. What do we mean by that?
So we're talking about things like, attendance, showing up on time, punctuality, respect for supervisors, clients, communication skills, basically all those soft skills that are super important in any workplace.
Those are essential for sure. So even though they had the technical skills, they were sometimes seen as lacking those essential workplace behaviors.
Exactly. It's like they aced the technical exam, but maybe struggled with the group project.
That is fascinating and kind of unexpected.
It is. It raises a really interesting question, something to think about as we, continue to explore this whole topic.
Okay, yeah, I'm intrigued. See, that's what I find so interesting. You're right. Technical skills, super important, but it's often those soft skills, those behavioral things that really make or break someone.
Absolutely.
Especially in the workplace, right?
It's one thing to know how to, wire a circuit or bake a cake.
Right.
But it's another thing entirely to be able to work effectively on a team.
Right.
To meet deadlines, to communicate clearly with your boss, your coworkers, your clients, you name it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to address that within, the structure of an apprenticeship program?
That is the million-dollar question, right? It's not like there's a textbook for teaching someone how to show up on time consistently.
Exactly. It's not like chapter 3, punctuality.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible.
Yeah.
There are definitely approaches that we can integrate, things that can help bridge that gap.
Okay. What kinds of approaches?
One that I think holds a lot of promise is mentorship.
Okay. Yeah.
The idea of pairing apprentices with, more experienced professionals.
Right. People who've been there.
Exactly. People who can not only teach them the technical ropes, but also, kind of embody those positive workplace behaviors.
Right. So it's like having a built-in role model.
Exactly. It's about more than just skills. It's about fostering a culture of professionalism from day one.
Right. So it's like ingrained in how they approach work from the very beginning.
Yeah, it becomes part of their DNA as workers. And it doesn't have to be all, stuffy lectures and workshops either.
Right. Get creative with it.
Exactly. We can think about incorporating things like peer feedback, role-playing scenarios, even community engagement activities.
Oh, I like that.
Get them out there, interacting with people, building those interpersonal skills.
Yeah, get them out of their comfort zones.
Exactly. It's about helping these young people develop not just as, skilled workers, but as well-rounded individuals.
Right. Set them up for success in all aspects of life.
Exactly.
I love that. So as we kind of wrap up here, we've been diving deep into these subsidized dual apprenticeships.
Yeah, it's been quite a deep dive.
It has, and I think we've uncovered some really fascinating stuff.
We definitely have.
It's clear that this program, this PG Deck, it had a real impact. Creating more opportunities, giving these young people a chance to boost their earnings down the line, enhancing their skills.
It's a really encouraging example of what's possible.
It is, but like you said earlier, every good story has a twist.
Always.
And this whole thing with the behavioral skills, that's a big one.
It is. It really highlights this key question that we need to be thinking about.
Which is?
How can we design these programs, these apprenticeships, in a way that not only teaches those hard skills, but also nurtures those all-important soft skills?
Right, because we've seen they're both essential for success.
Absolutely.
It's a challenge, no doubt, but it's one that's worth tackling head on.
Couldn't agree more. It's about investing in the future of these young people.
Right.
And really the future of the workforce as a whole.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been fantastic exploring this with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to everyone listening, thanks for diving deep with us, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into a topic that matters.